Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa man wala. A very warm welcome to all of our distinguished guests, panelists, and our, especially our delegates who've traveled from more than 12 countries, I'm told. This is a forum that we've been holding now 3 years in a row, and the feedback that I've been getting from our clients, alhamdulillah, this is now becoming a benchmark in the industry. I'm really honored and privileged today that I am moderating this very esteemed panel of speakers, and the topic here is next era of cross-border in Islamic banking. Islamic banking, as we just heard from Brother Mustafa, as part of the findings that we got from the reports, is now grown to a $5.5 trillion industry. It's not a niche sector anymore. It is a global phenomena, and it's really now helping connect different markets around the world across Middle East, Asia, Africa, and Central Asia. But with growth comes complexity and challenges, and we've been hearing since this morning from the very insightful session that we had with Eric and the keynote address by Mr. Ian. We are living in challenging times, and I think who best to hear how best the institutions, the region, and the global Islamic finance sector in general could tackle these challenges than the esteemed panel that we have today. So I'm really honored to have Ms. Rola Manneh, the CEO of Middle East and Pakistan. Rola also happens to be a board member at an internal kind of body that we have that looks after Islamic finance, our global business, so she's a board member for me as well. Mohamed Abdelbary, Group CEO, ADIB. ADIB is a very large Islamic financial institution across Middle East and the broader region, and a very impactful institution as well in the work that they're doing. And my very dear friend, Dr. Fadlul Imansyah from Indonesia. He's running one of the largest Hajj funds in Asia, in fact, in all of the world. So we'd really like to offer a warm welcome to our panelists today and dive straight into the discussion. So Rola, I'll start off with you as we go, ladies first. So Standard Chartered has a very unique footprint when you look at how we are kind of positioned, very deeply rooted in the emerging markets. Now, natural question that is on everybody's mind is, given the recent trade tensions that we have seen following the Independence Day announcement, Liberation Day announcement coming out of the US, what is Standard Chartered's strategy in this regard, and how do you see Standard Chartered positioning itself to serve its client in these volatile times?
Thank you, Khurram. First of all, maybe I would just like to congratulate you and your team on this forum, and this is a very important forum. Welcome our management team members. Jerry also is here. It's great to have you, as well as it's really exciting to see all our clients from across the globe, and inshallah we will have this regularly, because as a bank, Islamic banking is part of our strategic priorities for Standard Chartered. Now, if I just, to address your question, the region is maybe has been shielded from the current trade wars. However, it is not immune when it comes to oil prices and impact demand and the currency fluctuations. However, we have seen the region diversifying over the last few years and transforming their economies away from oil. We've seen a growth in the non-oil GDP. We've seen investments in new opportunities like industries like AI, technology, creating this region, and the UAE more so a manufacturing hub. So we look at it, for every crisis there is an opportunity. And this is where the opportunity is for this region to ramp up and see how they can attract more investors to come and do manufacturing, or to come and look at pure investments play and create the UAE as an Islamic hub. We have seen the announcement yesterday by the cabinet in terms of reinstating UAE as given its strategic location, expanding and growing the Islamic banks, the halal exports, as well as the banks with window Islamic banking. And this is music to our ears because we as Standard Chartered, we were part of the banking groups with my colleague also Mohamed Bari, talking to the regulators about how we can make the UAE as an Islamic finance hub. And we've also seen the sukuk, number of sukuks that have been coming out of the UAE, and more so, given the investor demand and appetite. Now, where do we come in as Standard Chartered? We are a super connector, given our deep roots across 53 markets, across Asia, Middle East, Africa, Europe, and Americas. And in all these markets, especially in the emerging markets and this part of the world, we're minimum 60 to 150 years. So Malaysia, for example, I was there 2 weeks ago. We celebrated 150 years in Malaysia. So this is where our deep roots connectivity with the clients come in. We understand the markets, we understand, and we've always operated in global tensions globally, and this is where we come in navigating these global tensions, finding new opportunities, new corridors for our clients, helping them in capital flows, cross-border, making investments in different markets, given our history in these markets, as well as our products. We have on-the-ground products where in most of the regions we operate. So if I look at the UAE, our global Islamic team is hubbed here. So for product market proximity, understanding the market dynamics of this region, we have it here. And this is where we're able to expand on our Islamic banking products, be it sukuk, Islamic finance, as well as in the trade finance as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rola. Mohamed, my next question will be to you, with ADIB being one of the leading Islamic banks in UAE and indeed the larger region as well. As we've been discussing since morning about the heightened kind of role of need for cross-border, how is ADIB positioning itself to serve this need for its customers?
Thank you, Khurram. First of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting me. For those who don't know, I've been working actually with STB for 8 years, so I feel back home. Right? So very good to see so many familiar faces, and thank you for, again, inviting me for such important forum. Just let me give a bit of context, because I have, I would say, the benefit of seeing the conventional banks for almost 25 years, and now 5 years on the other side of the table, the Islamic banks. And I think it's very important to understand and realize why the Islamic banking industry has grown so fast. And I think the recipe, in my view, is that you have to think it slightly differently. And I'll give you a simple example, is that when you think about, let's say, the mortgage or home finance product, very simply, right? Islamic banking does not think about it in a way that you want to offer a product to the client. But you look at it, the client wants to buy a house. Let's start this way. He wants a house, or he wants a car, or he wants a financing for a specific need. And then you tailor the product proposition for that purpose in a Sharia-compliant manner. And I think that is a very important element to look at, is that this comes in terms of meeting the client needs, not trying to almost push a product in terms of where it has become Sharia compliant. Because, again, I might sound a bit biased, but I think Islamic banks have to work a bit harder in terms of competing for some of the business in the market globally. Now, going back to your point, regarding the cross-border initiatives, and as Islamic banks, we have, I would say, also an ethical responsibility to ensure that the Islamic banking value proposition is understood even beyond borders. And to do that, you are tapping countries which are predominantly maybe Muslim population, but also non-Muslims, right? And I think that's where I wouldn't say the challenge, but the opportunity is you have to advocate of what Islamic banking means in terms of how do I satisfy your requirements in a Sharia-compliant manner. A very simple example, just to conclude on one point, is we spoke about digital assets. You spoke about it. So many I think entities might not know that digital assets is actually a very important solution for many of Islamic banking problems today, right? And because, again, having seen both sides of the coin, the sequence of how a transaction is executed is a very fine line between it being Sharia compliant or not. You know, in a product exchange, whether it's a home finance, auto finance, or any other thing. So with the introduction of digital assets, tokenization, you're able to almost introduce a new ways of working cross-border. So the moment you have digital assets properly implemented, and Central Bank in the UAE, I think, has taken a lot of steps. You heard about CBDC, which is the equivalent of USDT and ADT coming in, right? And that is clearly creating a digital currency. What it means is that the sequence of going cross-border will become more and more easier and more implemented, and accordingly advocating for Islamic banking. The only downside for that is that we are all in a financial institution forum, right? So I think it's not very good news for FIs because you're almost bypassing the FI in the middle, and the central bank hubs become almost the clearing houses of the cross-border financial transactions, right? I think it's going to happen. It's not a matter of when. It's not if, it's when. It's going to move very fast. But I see it as very good news for Islamic banks because you need to be leading that initiative, and it will help you to even enhance your footprint in terms of Islamic banking beyond the UAE borders.
Thank you so much, Mohamed. That's very, very insightful. I'll turn my attention to Pa Fadlul. And Pa, you're managing one of the largest Hajj funds in the world. And you have a very unique challenge that your savers, who are the pilgrims, and Indonesia has the largest number of pilgrims going for Hajj every year, they save their contributions with you in the local Indonesian rupiah. But you have to then go and spend that money in Saudi Riyal or US dollars, which is Saudi Riyal against is US dollar pegged. So obviously cross-border investment are a very important component of what you're doing. And with the changing landscape, as we've been discussing since this morning, how is BPKH adopting its strategy and addressing these challenges?
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation and the opportunity to be here. First of all, I would like to give you a bit of a background of what we are saying about the number of population who are coming for Hajj in Saudi Arabia, coming from Indonesia. Currently, our population, Indonesia population, is about 280 million people. 80% of the population is Muslim, which, as we discussed with one of our brother from Pakistan, it used to be Indonesia is the largest Muslim population, but now it's Pakistan, if I'm not mistaken, as for end of 2024. But again, you can imagine that out of this 280 million population, they have to go for Hajj. Unfortunately, currently, the people who are registered to us as a waiting list for the Hajj is only 5.5 million people. Out of the 5.5 million people, the Saudian kingdom is giving us about 220,000 quota for Hajj every single year. So if we are talking about the money that is spending each year, every year in Saudi Arabia, it's a huge money, right? Not to mention about the distribution, the suppliers, and everything. That's what we call as a Hajj ecosystem. So talking about Hajj ecosystem, it's the total cost of the Hajj itself from Indonesian perspective, 80% of the spending is in US dollar, both in Saudi Riyal. So you can imagine that how we have to manage that spending, the investment, the financial instrument and everything, which the income is, or the subscription is in Indonesian rupiah, but we have to spend 80% of the total spending in other currency. So the challenge is how we have to pack, or we have to have hedge this kind of liabilities every single years until the end of the world, right? So that is one challenge that we have, because as we are a quasi of government, we need to record in our accounting system, the balance sheet is in rupiah, but you can imagine the spending is in other currency out of this 80% of the total money. So the one that we had currently, we are in the progress of doing investment, which is the what's we call as the cross-border investment, because it's the ecosystem is currently still in the Saudi, because we cannot move the two haram from Saudi to the other places, so we need to concentrate the ecosystem within the Saudi itself. But for making the ecosystem more widened and more benefit to the others, we need to collaborate with others country. For instance, like UAE and then the others country which have the financial hub, because as Indonesian, as a foreign investor, which have to invest in the Hajj ecosystem in Saudi, we need to have a partner who are have an expert in investment, in finance, and also in Islamic principle. So that's kind of a challenge. I think the things that we need to collaborate across the Muslim country, of course, and not to mention that we are very keen to have more, kind of like what we can do to expedite, so that the Islamic finance and ecosystem within the globe can also be boosting coming from these two haramain in Saudi Arabia. I think also I have to mention about that we currently already have a subsidiary company. I think it is the only one quasi-government, 100% owned by the government of the foreign country in Saudi, which operated in the Saudi Arabian. Now we are in the process of, having like 104 hotels booking allotment every single year, and then we have to provide the catering for not only for the Hajj, but also for the Umrah, and also the bus transportation, which we are buying in collaboration with the Chinese buses provider and everything. So these are something that we need to discuss more, and we need to have input and feedback and collaboration going forward for boosting the investment across the border of this financial ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Ba. I really appreciate. Rola, I'll come back to you, and again, in your role as the CEO for the broader Middle East region, Pakistan particularly, these are all Islamic finance markets. And I know internally you've been very aggressively driving the broader strategy of Islamic finance. Would you like to share any recent cross-border transactions, any successful deals that we have concluded, which you'd like to share with the audience, and what really made them work for the bank?
Thank you. Well, Khurram, the fact that our global Islamic hub is based in this region, that I must say has helped us know the region well and support the regulators in driving Islamic banking, working with our partners, the Islamic banks in the country and in the region. because there is a demand. So if we look at the sukuk, we are the #1 sukuk player. Last year we did 43 transactions. And this is in issuers in this part of the world. And all of them were very successful. If I look at, maybe name a few, one sovereign lately, we did a dual tranche, a sukuk and a conventional. Very high, the order book was very high, achieved tight pricing. But where the value we bring, apart from the pricing and the order book, is the investor base. Given our Asia, deep roots in Asia, this is where you bring the global investors to regional deals. And that's how the cross-border is the value we bring. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that there is diversification in the investor base, in the financing for the issuer. And we've been very successful in most of the sukuks, bringing in new investors and investors across Europe, Asia, and this part of the world. The other one we did, which is the Hafid project, which is collaboration between Oman and the UAE, and this is in the public. We're financial advisors for the client here, but it is a cross-border deal in Oman. It's connecting the railway between Oman and the UAE. And this is where you have the advisory team as well as the financing team, which has both conventional and Islamic. We lately saw, as of last week, which is also in the public domain, ADNOC came for the sukuk transaction, did extremely well, tight pricing, large order book, diversified investor base. Standard Chartered was a sole GLOCO, and then we had the book runners, the likes of ADIB and the local banks. So we work also with our partners, our partner banks in the region, the Islamic and conventional bank. There are many more, but more and more we're also investing in expanding our Islamic product base, because at the end of the day, you need to offer the opportunity to the client to choose a conventional or an Islamic. And this is what we bring to the table, because, I mean, at the end of the day, the client needs to be comfortable, but the diversity of the different types of financing for each client is very important.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rola. Mohamed, I'll come to you now. We saw this wonderful announcement yesterday, UAE Cabinet announcing a national strategy for growth of Islamic finance in the halal sector. Made a big commitment to grow the sector by almost 2.5 times by 2030. Now we know that ADIB is a very active player, working with, you know, from the time of the formation of the Higher Sharia Authority and the Secretariat, and you've been behind the scenes supporting them with ideation, with providing technical tools. How do you see this development, not just for the UAE, but the broader Islamic finance sector in the region?
Yeah, I think it was a very welcome announcement. As you said, there have been vibes before that this is eventually coming. And maybe I also use this opportunity to thank Mustafa, great report on the SCB alignment. I'll definitely take the book with me, right? So it's a fantastic book. But I think let's maybe take a step back, because the banking assets are basically the banks. Let's look at who the big banks are in the UAE, and let me talk about ADIB, and other banks will probably be the same. And I link it to some of the meetings I had with investors as recent as yesterday. ADIB is currently, and this is not a pitch by the way for ADIB, but ADIB is currently trading at 3.1 price to book and 11 price to earnings. That is way above market norms for any bank in the UAE, right? And you can only compare it to other Saudi banks, which are also predominantly Islamic banks. And when I met the investor yesterday, and by the way, he is non-Muslim, he has a UK Canadian-based fund, right? Nothing to do with Islam. He's not a Muslim, but he likes the asset, and he's a big investor. He came to the office, and I always like to listen more than talk in these meetings, and ask him what's so interesting in our share price, and why are you putting so much value in it? And his answer is that I think the way Islamic banks are operating and have been operating over the past 10 years, it gives us a sense of assurance and comfort that we see the future coming. We see the growth coming. We can predict it. We know that it is not a short-term view in terms of how the market operates and how banks will perform, but we see the almost the roadmap. And this way, linking back to the announcement of yesterday, I think it is a very ambitious, very possible target, right? And ADIB will definitely play a big role. We are 25% of that asset base today, going to 2.3 trillion. I think it's very much doable, because at the end of the day, you need to think of what the clients want and how you structure your products to meet that client demand, and looking at how the growth happened in the UAE and beyond in that specific sector. I see no reason why this ambition cannot be even overachieved by the time we come to 2031.
The hidden message there is that there should be a rush to buy the ADIB share with this announcement.
Yeah, now it's a bit too late, but now we're, yeah.
Fadlul, I'll turn to you. And you cannot have Islamic Finance Conference and not talk about Maqasid al-Sharia, and obviously, representing the Hajj Fund. How do you, see Maqasid al-Sharia and the public benefit priorities shape your investment strategy? How does that get reflected in your investment strategy?
Well, if we are talking about Maqasid Sharia, I think before I was in this Indonesia Hajj Fund agency, in some of the previous conference that I was being able to be a panelist, I will always say that if we are Islamic finance and also, sorry to say, the Hajj and Umrah ecosystem is definitely have to based on the Maqasid Sharia, right? So every single investment that we have is based on the Maqasid Sharia. So I think since we are really focusing on the investment for the Hajj ecosystem, so I will say that in this my short answer is that we definitely do the thing as what it is mentioned as a Maqasid Sharia. So no doubt about that. So I think that is my answer for the time being, Khurram.
Thank you very much. One last question to all of our CEOs, and I'll ask them the same question, and then we'll turn to the Q&A. I'm just conscious of time as well. This is a very august gathering here. We've got more than 50 institutions from over 12 countries, I'm told, sitting here. What would be your parting message if you were to give one message to the audience here? I'd like to give an opportunity to each of you. Maybe Mohamed, I start off with you, and we'll get on. What would be the one message that you want to give to the global Islamic finance industry?
I think my only message would be is that the opportunity is definitely out there. I've witnessed it myself over the past 5 years, and I think, and one thing, to be honest, I have to give credit where credit is due, right? So I've learned the importance of client in SCB, right? That is a word we always kept repeating. And the moment you think about the client needs and accordingly structure your Islamic products to meet client needs, this is the best advocate for the Islamic banking industry. Don't try to push Islamic banking products too hard without understanding how to push it and how to be the one who meets client needs, not just to solve for an outcome. I would say solve for the input, the outcome will come on its own.
Thank you, very insightful. Rola?
I would say creativity and innovation. They could easily be the leaders in it. Not only we look at the conventional and transition to Islamic. We have seen what the Sukuk market has done, so it's very easy that Islamic banking be ahead of the curve in terms of its creativity. One factor, Khurram, I want to touch base, if we look at the ESG and sustainability, and we've discussed this even at the banking forum. Sustainability, and I know a lot of banks are rethinking this, but you know, for us in Standard Chartered, we're committed to it in terms of our sustainability and ESG. But sustainability and Islamic finance go hand in hand, because this is all about responsible finance. And that's what we owe it to our clients. And this is where we're expanding in that field. And we do dual sukuk, green sukuk. So this is where you can build on both, do dual products to cater for the customers. At the end of the day, you want your customer base to feel that you are a responsible institutional, whether conventional or Islamic.
Thank you very much, Rola. Fadlul.
Yeah. Unfortunately, since we are in the business of Hajj and Umrah ecosystem, definitely we cannot separate it by the Islamic finance ecosystem. So in order for that, I think I will say that let's collaborate more to boost this Islamic financial ecosystem. Maybe we can, if I may say that, we can, imitate what has Prophet Muhammad done in his previous year, that if we want to grow the economy, why don't we grow from the mosque and the surrounding the mosque first, and then after that, the economic will be grow above what we are expecting. What I would say, what I am trying to say is that based on these two Haramain, I think it's can be one of the trigger for us to grow the financial economics across the globe. But of course, it is not only it's the responsible of all of us, not only in the Middle East, in the Saudi Arabia, but across the globe, because we have Muslim population, which is still the biggest one in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pa. We'll now take a few quick questions. I'm just conscious of time as well. So if there are any members of the audience who would like to ask a question. We've got a question here in the front. If somebody could facilitate, thank you.
Thank you. It's Azhar from Standard Chartered in Pakistan. Rola, I have a question for you. How do you see cross-border opportunities across Standard Chartered network, especially for Islamic banking? Cross-border opportunities across markets for Standard Chartered, especially for Islamic banking.
Well, we are obviously in Pakistan, and then in Malaysia, Bangladesh, and other markets. It is growing, and we work closely with Pakistan. We're seeing the regulations in Pakistan on Islamic banking. I think with the network that we have in Islamic banking across the cross-border, I think this is where we can do much more in connecting all our clients to make sure that if the ones in Malaysia, we bank them in other countries across our Islamic countries. There's also opportunities to work together and bring new products for the global Islamic banking across these markets, and looking at other markets in the region that are really driving Islamic banking in the neighboring countries.
Thank you, Rola. We've got one question at the back, and we'll take that as the last question in the interest of time.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Khair Azmi from MI Field District Council, Malaysia. I have a question for Pak Fadlul regarding the rising cost of inflation for Hajj, right? I just want to take your view in what way we can use the philanthropic capital, such as the Wakafin Sukuk, to raise funding to acquire property in Saudi Arabia to reduce the cost of Hajj inflation. For your view, please.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think I will say, just to share our experience regarding the Hajj cost, yeah, how to stabilize the Hajj cost, is definitely we need to have a direct investment across the sectors which provided the ecosystem of the Hajj and Umrah. That is number one. Because if we know the cost structure and also the cost of goods sold of every single services that have been provided to the Hajj and Umrah pilgrimage, I think then we know how to stabilize the cost of Hajj. That is number one. That is the reason why currently BPKH has a subsidiary company in, as I mentioned, in Saudi Arabia, is for us in order to stabilize and at least maintaining the cost of Hajj because of the inflation, not to mention also the fluctuation of the US dollar against our currency, right? That is our main challenges. Secondly, on the cash, on the Wakaf link, Sukuk, I think from my perspective, we cannot say that, sorry for maybe if I have to apologize in the first place here. This Hajj and Umrah is actually, we have to see it as a business, not really on the Wakaf side of the things. Wakaf is on the mosque, right? Wakaf, it is the center, the mosque is the center of the ecosystem, right? But we cannot really, from my perspective, we cannot really, depend on this kind of Wakaf. Wakaf is only for the mosque. If we are talking about Hajj and Umrah, it's definitely a business. We have to see it as a business. Therefore, I will say, in a different opinion with you, that I will say, why don't we just invest more on the Hajj ecosystem to stabilize the cost of Hajj instead of, doing some Wakaf kind of structure, which I think the Wakaf is more to donate and to empower the economy for the needs, not for the business. So I think that is my answer for your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fadlul. And I just want to conclude by saying, whenever we've seen a crisis in the global financial sector, there's always these voices raised in the market that people look at Islamic finance as an alternative. And we've got this great gathering of the industry here. It is an opportunity, once again, for the Islamic finance sector to really, as we just heard from our panel members here, be client-centric, be innovative in our approach, and going back to the roots, the very fundamentals of Islamic finance. How can we present a true alternative to the conventional financial system? I'd like to thank my esteemed panel members, Mohamed Bari from ADIB, Rola Manneh from Standard Chartered, and Fadlul from BPKH Indonesia for their precious comment and their time. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.